Opinion. Why Australia's big business must play fair. For countless decades, Australia's largest corporations and government departments have been mercilessly bleeding cash from our employment engine room, small and medium-sized business. Scott Morrison discusses how the Govt's budget will impact small businesses on 730. Courtesy. ABC 730. For countless decades, Australia's largest corporations and government departments have been mercilessly bleeding cash from our employment engine room, small and medium-sized business. Yesterday, at the celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Telstra Business Awards, I asked Telstra's chief executive Andy Penn whether he was prepared to make a start on ending the carnage by vowing that within 6 months all Telstra suppliers would be paid within 30 days. I was stunned when he agreed. But that Telstra undertaking throws the gauntlet down to our major supermarkets, retailers, banks, government departments and other large corporations to start playing fair and paying suppliers and other creditors within 30 days. Currently, most of those groups squeeze small suppliers for cash by delaying payments for 60 or 90 days. Sometimes it is even longer. With bankers reluctant to extend overdrafts to small enterprises, the large corporation delinquency often forces smaller groups to delay paying staff or the tax office. This can have disastrous consequences. At the awards celebration, the subject of governments and large corporations paying suppliers within 30 days was raised by the Victorian Small Business Minister, Philip Dalidakis, who himself put everything on the line in a small enterprise before becoming a politician. He wants a national voluntary code amongst corporations and governments, but when he suggested this to Canberra, they couldn't be bothered, which is not surprising. The issue of payments to suppliers has been a festering sore for a long time. The community was outraged when last year Rio Tinto issued a directive that suppliers should be paid at an even slower rate than previously. The policy was reversed after forceful community pressure. Why faster payments are so important is that electronic banking is beginning to speed up the cash processes, and the delinquency of our large corporations and government departments is making it tougher and tougher for small enterprises to operate successfully. It is now accepted that within a decade most large corporations and government departments will introduce technology that will reduce the amount of labor now required to perform most present functions by approximately half. Now, of course, new functions and activities will be developed, but there will be a substantial fall in the number of people employed by large corporations and government departments. That is why it is so important that we improve the health of the present system. Prompt payments are an important step. The unfair contracts legislation is another important part of improving the environment for smaller enterprises, and of course we need to improve the tax department by constructing an independent body to oversee complaints. None of these moves will prevent small businesses that get their strategy and or their funding wrong from encountering big problems, but they do mean that those that have the right strategy and are capitalized correctly will have every chance of becoming successful. I was particularly drawn to this issue by a business I know that is kicking goals and increasing its turnover and profitability, but because its prosperous customers are slow payers, the amount of working capital that the small business must fund becomes larger and larger. It can cause good operations to fall over and certainly restricts their expansion. If Australia is to prosper and improve incomes, this national scandal has to end. On the other side, what large retailers don't understand is that smaller supplier groups are often not supplying them with the goods they need to innovate their business because the small groups are not getting paid promptly. It is forcing more and more small suppliers to sell and/or market on the net. The big retailers don't realize this danger, particularly as the Chinese goods they are replacing sometimes simply don't match the quality.